Chapter 2: The Board Audit. Diagnosing your reality. Sometime last year, I read the story of a man whose Ford truck had a problematic engine. He kept managing the truck until one day he declared he had had enough and took it to a Ford dealership. After a surface level inspection, the mechanic declared the engine seized and recommended a $3,000 replacement. The frustrated owner, trusting the supposed expertise, sold the truck at a huge loss, only for the new buyer to discover after a proper diagnosis that the problem wasn't a seized engine but a blown injector seal. This story highlights the importance of accurate diagnosis to avoid unnecessary and potentially damaging actions. As simple as this story is, many founders, when it comes to understanding their board, are just like that first mechanic. You pour your heart and your soul into your mission. The goal is clear: to build a world-class organization that serves the community. You brought in people you thought were the best possible board members. On paper, they should be a powerhouse. But when it's time to get to work, you find that it's almost impossible to create any meaningful results. You aren't raising any money. When you talk about fundraising, everyone goes silent. Programs receive very little support. The organization seems like a shadow of itself. Somehow, you know the board has the potential to perform, but it's not just happening. You only hear voices when it's time to criticize. What's the first thing an amateur founder does? They get frustrated, blame the board, and start thinking of replacing board members or even the entire board. They think about bringing in new board members into the same dysfunction without first identifying what created the problems they presently have. But what does an experienced founder do? They never start by replacing the board. Their first action is always the same. Just like a master mechanic, they identify where the problem is by diagnosing the board. They get a clear, data-driven, brutally honest reading of the entire system. They learn which parts are working well, where the limitations are, and what's diminishing the board's results. They diagnose before determining what to do next. As the founder, you're the chief mechanic of your organization. Your board is your engine, and the single biggest mistake you can make is trying to fix that engine by randomly replacing parts without first running a full diagnosis. And the funny part, those same board members you fire may end up becoming champions in another non-profit, just like the new buyer of that truck who identified the real problem and fixed it. Meanwhile, you might end up bringing in new board members who begin to replicate the same dysfunction because you're yet to fix the root of the problem. In the first chapter, we talked about your role as a founder and that of your board. Now you must take the first action that stems from that understanding. You must diagnose your board by running a board audit to understand the factors holding it back from reaching its greatest potential. This is where you trade wishful thinking for undeniable facts. The board audit is more than just a diagnostic tool. It is also a tool to re-engage and reactivate your board. It is a three-part diagnostic process of your board as a whole and each individual board member, consisting of three core parts. 1. Your audit as the founder, the mirror test. 2. The complete board audit, the blueprint. 3. Board members' self-evaluation audit, the commitment compass. Let's break down how to approach each part. Part 1. The founder's audit, the mirror test. Before you can accurately diagnose your board, you must first diagnose your own leadership. As we've established, everything rises and falls on leadership. This is the most important step and it requires radical honesty. A board culture will always mirror the leadership style of its founder. At the peak of it, you realize that your board's current behavior is only an effect. Your approach is the cause. This is very important because as humans, it is easy to see the fault of others while being blind to our own. This is why Jesus said, "Before you remove the stick from the eyes of another, remove the log in yours first." If you don't understand how your own actions, even your best intentions, are contributing to the problem, you will be doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And even if you bring in new board members, auditing yourself is the opportunity to look in the mirror, make the appropriate corrections, and become the leader your board will be inspired to follow. Another important aspect of this audit is allowing your board to assess your leadership style. This will give you a more sincere and critical view than what you get from auditing yourself. If you are a leader with a trained mind, taking the necessary action based on your findings from this audit will transform you into a leader your board, staff, and entire organization will gladly follow for life. Ask yourself these brutal questions. What is my leadership style? Do I facilitate or do I give instructions? How do I see my board members? As co-architects or as my volunteers? Does my leadership approach inspire confidence? Then ask your board members to reflect on questions like, what would you say about your leadership style? How has my leadership style impacted your work and result as a board member? Part 2. The complete board audit. The board blueprint. This is where you assess your entire board and organization to understand the gaps based on your views and those of your board members. The practice is to assess your board compared to what an ideal board should look like for your mission. What skill sets do you need for your board to perform at optimum capacity? What culture is missing? What can you provide your board to help them create better results? What teams, diversity, or individuals do we need to bring balance to the board? You also want to get your board members to answer these questions themselves, giving you an outside view of the present state of the board and the organization. Part 3. The self-evaluation audit. This is one of the most powerful steps in the board audit process, as it is directed towards your board members. The goal is to get them to self-reflect on their roles, the value they bring, their commitment, and how they want to be engaged moving forward. The strategy is for every current board member to complete a confidential self-evaluation form. To fix your board, you need to understand why your board members haven't been giving their best. You can't fix a problem you don't fully understand, and this audit helps you gain the understanding you need. How to initiate the board audit. It is very important to note that you are not sending this out as a form of accusation. You are framing it as a vital, positive, forward-looking strategic process. You are inviting them to be partners in building a future for the organization they care about. You can download the complete board audit form and all the email templates mentioned in this chapter for free by visiting the Resource Hub section of this book. Interpreting the board audit. Once you have completed the board audit, the next step is interpretation. There are two powerful ways to approach this, and they work best when used together. First, use your own personal insight. You know your board members, their past habits, personalities, and the context behind their words. Read through their responses and use your informed understanding to draw initial conclusions. This human element is irreplaceable. Before turning to AI, you might try a simple whiteboard analysis. Create columns for key themes like fundraising concerns or leadership praise and write down relevant anonymous quotes under each. This physical act of sorting the data can reveal powerful patterns. Second, you can leverage technology to gain an objective perspective and challenge your own biases. AI models like Google's Gemini or ChatGPT can act as a powerful analysis partner. By putting the anonymized responses from your board, you can ask critical questions to reveal deeper patterns and get a clearer picture. For example, you could ask the AI, based on the language in this response, does this board member seem more inclined to step up or to step down? After analyzing all the responses, what are your most significant skill gaps on my board? Synthesize the feedback regarding my leadership. What are the key themes, and how can I improve my approach to get better results for my board? Given all this data, what are the most logical decisions to make to move the board forward? Using this AI can provide you unbiased insights that help you see the bigger picture and make more confident, data-driven decisions. Re-engaging board members after the audit. The diagnostic report is complete. You've uncovered the engine's weaknesses. The data from the board audit sits before you, undeniable and objective. Now it's time to face the master's mechanic's choice. Do you tune up the existing parts, or do you replace them? This is the most pivotal decision you will make. Rushing to recruit new board members without addressing the issues identified is like putting a new piston into a malfunctioning engine. You risk damaging the new part and getting the same poor performance. The path to a powerhouse board isn't always about bringing in new people. It is first about salvaging the old to see what still works and what stepping it up by organizing a one-on-one meeting with each board member and a general board meeting. Here is how you do this. Preparing for the conversation. Mindset is everything. Before you schedule a single meeting, take a moment to prepare your mindset. These can be emotionally charged conversations, and your approach will determine their success. Your goal is to lead with curiosity, not accusation. Be prepared for a range of emotions. Some board members may feel defensive or surprised. Your job is to remain calm, centered, and focused on the future. Remember, this isn't about rehearsing past failures. It's about finding the best path forward for both the individual and the organization. Before each meeting, review that specific member's audit response and define a clear objective. For board member A, your goal might be to confirm their interest in leading a new committee. For board member B, your goal might be to explore what a graceful exit would look like. This preparation turns a potentially difficult chat into a focused strategic conversation. Step 1. The one-on-one conversation for clarity. Before engaging the full board, you must first engage each board member based on their confidential response to the audit. The strategy is to acknowledge their response and determine the best course of action moving forward. This gives them the safety to be honest and gives you the opportunity to listen and take decisive action. This is a profound act of leadership that builds immense trust. To do this successfully, simply send an email acknowledging their feedback and inviting them for a meeting. The goal is to share your excitement for the organization's future and discuss how they see themselves fitting into it based on their self-evaluation. This conversation will lead to one of two outcomes. 1. The graceful exit. For members who indicated they wish to step down, this is the opportunity to thank them for their service and create a honorable off-ramp. You can discuss how they might stay involved in different capacity, including as a volunteer, a donor, or an advocate, thereby preserving the relationship while opening up their board seat. Be sure to follow the official process for board member resignation as outlined in your organization's bylaw to ensure everything is handled correctly. 2. The renewed commitment. For members who want to step up, this is the moment of commitment. You can discuss the specific roles they are passionate about and clarify the new expectations. For board members who haven't previously given or fundraised, this is also where you get to plant the seed. You can say, as we move forward and formalize our fundraising strategy after our planning session, one of the key expectations for all active members will be to participate in 100% board giving and relationship mapping. Is that something you'd be open to exploring with us? This frames it as a future team effort, not a present-day demand. What if you encounter resistance? What happens if a board member becomes defensive, disagrees with the audit findings, or blames you? Do not get pulled into an argument. Stick to the objective data. The feedback from several members indicated a need for, and use I statements and hearing that you feel. If they remain resistant, it's okay to acknowledge a mismatch. It sounds like there's a disconnect between the direction the board is heading and what you're looking for right now. Perhaps this isn't the right fit at this time. Your goal is clarity, not convincing everyone. Step 2. The group conversation to forge a path forward. After your individual meetings, you will convene the full board. The principle here is shared ownership. Your goal is not to present a list of problems, but to facilitate a discussion where the board collectively owns the result of the audit and decides on the path forward. You are not the board, so it is important for the board to decide what to do. Your job is to present the findings and get them to decide on the next steps. The board can decide to provide a letter of recommendation to board members stepping down. Those teams can jointly decide to step up, and the board can then decide to initiate a board recruitment drive if there are roles that are needed to be filled. When the decision to recruit new board members comes from the entire board, not just from you, it ceases to be a personal agenda and becomes the official strategy of the organization. This creates universal buy-in. To initiate board recruitment, you can ask a question like, based on the data and our strategic goals, what skills and connections are we missing? And how do we best fill those gaps? Step 3. Inaugurating the board recruitment committee. Once the board has agreed on the need to recruit, your next step as a facilitator is to ask who will join us in this important effort. The principle here is delegation and empowerment. It is not your job to do it alone. Forming a board recruitment committee signals that the board building is a perpetual high-priority function of a healthy organization. Ask for 2 or 3 board members, ideally who's expressed a desire to step up, to form the new committee. The board audit is your first major step as a facilitator. It is the action that stops the cycle of frustration and begins the process of building a powerhouse board your mission truly deserves. Immediate action steps. Commit to the process. Make the decision that you will not recruit another board member until you have completed the 3-path audit. This commitment alone will change the directory of your organization. 2. Complete your founder's audit. Before you even think about sending anything to your board, take 30 minutes to complete the mirror text. Get clear on your own leadership first. 3. Prepare to communicate. You can download all the email templates you will need to kick off this process with confidence and clarity on the Resource Hub section of this book. By taking these first steps, you have done what most struggling founders never do. You have chosen to look in the mirror and diagnose the problem before trying to fix it. This act of leadership is the true beginning of your board's transformation. The clarity you gain from the audit is the foundation upon which everything else will be built. You now have a clear understanding of your own leadership, the gaps on your board, and the commitment level of each board member. With this knowledge, you are no longer operating in the dark. You are ready to build with intention. In the next chapter, we will take the results of your diagnosis and begin the exciting process of recruiting the right leaders to help you fulfill your mission.